Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast, where real students are doing real deals in the world of multifamily real estate. I'm Vince Gettings, the owner of the Wheelwell Profits Academy. Listen in as we dive into the journeys of driven individuals who are turning their dreams into reality. These people are just like you, taking action and making things happen. If you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and if you're ready to take action, check us out at wheelwellprofits.com to learn more about our incredible community. Let's get started.
This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of make it happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake and Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I'm joined by my co-host Joshua Ryan Rusin, the community director of Jake and Gino. Josh, how are you doing today?
Gino, doing well, man. You know what I'm really excited for? In literally less than 24 hours, I'm picking you up at the airport, man. That's what I'm excited for.
I don't even know what to say about that, Josh. It's going to be a good weekend, right? What do we have this weekend? We have the Manage Right Boot Camp. We're going to get together with students. We're going to teach their Manage Right portion of our framework. It's one of those areas where a lot of people don't focus on, and for us, it's a really important part of the business. And I think guests today will really highlight how important it is by actually moving out to the market. We'll dive into that. I'm excited about today's guests too, Josh. So let's introduce them.
Speaking of today's guests, we have Doug and Jill Reddell. So they're multifamily investors with a rental portfolio of 181 units in Nevada and Oregon. Their properties range in size from 2 units to 117 unit that they bought with a partner. They live with their 2 young boys in Reno, Nevada. The Reddell's entry into multifamily real estate full-time began in Southern California in 2017 with 1 fourplex in Redondo Beach, 1 condo in Palm Desert, and 1 called the Jake and Gino. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Doug and Jill.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Wow. So guys, tell us your story. Why multifamily?
Well, for me, I've always tinkered in real estate, even when I was in the corporate world, and I liked it because I started making a good portion, even up to and more than I was making in corporate world. So, the obvious thing was, why am I spending 8 stressful hours in a cubicle or sometimes an office?
Mm-hmm. Well, Doug, let's talk about that. You're an aerospace engineer. How did you get into real estate from doing that? And that's not like a typical career, right? You had to go through education. That's a pretty high level career there.
Yeah, frankly, that was probably one of my hardest things. Like, I felt like I invested so much into education and worked my way into a very specific position and was getting promotions or, these incentives, the platinum handcuffs put on me in the corporate world. Is really hard to just step away from that and go reset, it's yeah.
All right,
so,
what do you platinum handcuffs?
Years, yeah.
Tell me more about those. What do you mean by that? Define those for the listeners.
What's that?
The platinum handcuffs you had mentioned.
Oh, well, engineering is a good salary coming in as a student, coming out of college, kind of struggling getting through college and paying for it. And all of a sudden you get this nice, shiny offer in front of you and you get to live in a cool urban area or something. And then there's always something that comes along, that promotion that you're seeking or that nice raise they get you for performing. And it's just, you feel like, and then of course they've got you invested in pension fund and there's milestones, right? You've got to be a certain age and accumulate a certain number of points before you can retire with any benefits, so there's just those things that are hanging over that you would have to leave, oh, next year I get 3 weeks of vacation if I stay, through September of, 84, it's just kind of gets you where, it feels like it's restraining you just because you feel like if you left there, you'd leave all that money and all that potential kind of thing, I guess.
All right, so let's talk about this. You're 2 decades into this aerospace engineering career, and then you pivot into small business. Tell me a little bit about that, because most people wouldn't make the pivot or the shift. Just like you said, those handcuffs, the longer you're there, the tighter they get.
Yeah. Yeah, for me personally, I was just getting really unhappy with the environment of, corporate world. You meet brilliant people and you meet people that work their way up with no qualifications. So there's toxic environment too. Sometimes it's just the politics and stuff in a corporate world or getting to me, and I knew I needed something else. And Jill recognized it well, and she was a good part of getting me enthused about taking a risk and leaving, you know.
So Jill, what'd you do to get him to leave? I mean, honestly, because that's hard.
Watch Jake and Gino.
I mean, really, because it's very
Josh and Gino,
difficult.
sorry.
Yeah, you're doing something. I had the restaurant for 20 years, and then I just hit a switch. 2008 was my pandemic for me. I call it my Great Recession, and I called it my wake up call. It was mid-30s, and I'm like, I don't like doing this anymore. I'm working harder. I'm making less. Jill, what was it for you that said, you know what, Doug, we need to do something different here?
Well, I think it was having our first child. Maybe that was it, and seeing how stressed Doug was in the business, and then, as an engineer. So we thought maybe moving into a business would give us more freedom, more time, and maybe it would be stress-free. But unfortunately, the one that we got into, we bought an existing concern, and it was just a terrible fit. It performed well. I mean, Doug worked really hard and made good money, but it was basically like buying a job because he absolutely had to be there. We had so many issues with everybody from the landlord to employees and customers. It was super high stress and very high risk, at least from my perspective. There were a lot of things that could go wrong. And so, we're both up at night worrying about our assets and our kids, and just, Doug's pretty stuck just doing the day-to-day grind for this business that I kind of, pushed him into. So I felt like I had to do whatever I could to get him out. But I mean, I'm not taking any credit for that. He did all the work. But meanwhile, we had Doug did have a fourplex in Redondo Beach that he bought in like 2003, and I had a condo out in Palm Desert. I bought that during the recession, I think in 2009. So we had paid those off because it seemed like the risk-free way to, make a bunch of cash flow and maximize our assets. And but then I started reading on Bigger Pockets and reading Jake and Gino's stuff, and read Wheelbarrow Profits, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're missing out. We're basically robbing ourselves of the major benefit to real estate, which is the leverage. And we could be doing something completely different. And real estate obviously appealed to me. I was kind of a globetrotter in my 20s, and so I wanted to do something as passive as possible. But which this is not it, by the way. Our path is not. But, anyway, I booked a 15-minute conversation, or it was a free consultation with Jake and Gino, and I got you both on the line at the time. And I remember Gino kind of heard it in my voice, and he was like this voice of peace and calm, and he said, you seem very stressed. And I was like, that's it, I'm stressed. And I feel like we have all this potential. My husband's stuck, and we could be doing this, and we're how do we move forward? And so I did end up booking, I think it was 6 sessions with Gino and as a life coach, and Gino totally helped identify the plan, which was sell the business that's sucking you dry, cash out, pull out some of your equity in California, or sell those, and get going. So
So Jill, let me go back to something really important. I don't want to get too far ahead, but when you look at your business, when you're looking at your business right now, and that business that you bought, what are the learning lessons for the listeners out there? What mistakes did you make? Because now you're buying multifamily. It's sort of the same thing. You're buying a business in multifamily. What did you do wrong by buying that business? And now how can you help the listeners avoid those mistakes?
I can answer that pretty easy.
Yeah, that's
it was kind of I think it's a lot of the business brokers market their businesses that they're trying to sell that people have had in place, or and it's for a lot of reasons, but they always, a good approach for them is to make it seem like it's a little bit passive, and oh yeah, it's anti-passive. If I was gone for a week, we would have lost a lot of money. There was no way to take vacations. I had to be there and present. Or you find management, which is costly, and somebody you trust and have, is committed to the revenue and is honest. So we were, it was, it just took a lot of time, and it took away from, because I've always been in real estate and I've kind of understood what Jill's kind of learned from you guys and everything, that there's great potential there, but I had no time for that anymore.
And then you guys end up getting the deal on the market. You end up selling that business. What's the next step? Is the next step, the limiting belief of saying, you know what, I've got all this equity. I've got this great fourplex. I don't want to sell it because I've owned this for a long time. The condo, I feel really comfortable. I don't want to sell that. What were the next steps after you sold the business?
Well, for me, I don't know. Jill had been talking about other markets and where we could go, and I kind of shrugged a lot of them off. Certainly the Midwest, and no offense, but I wasn't familiar. I'm not from there. So I just focused on areas I knew and had friends or relationships are. And I used to fly in and out of Reno to go skiing in Tahoe. So I knew Reno wasn't exactly what people made it out to be. Well, the image that Reno gets, it's not always positive, but it's right at the foothills of the Sierra. And the news in 2014, everybody is aware of that, of all the tech companies kind of coming out here and realizing that Nevada is really business friendly, Yep. So I felt there was good growth potential here. And I thought I was really great. I thought it was awesome. We got a buyer for our business, and it gave me the opportunity to dig in and really look at where we wanted to go.
So walk me through it. How did you feel, Jill, when you said we're selling these properties and moving to Reno? What was your feeling?
She didn't want to sell anything, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm probably the one with more of the limiting beliefs, but what did we do? So it was right around the time I was talking to you, Gino, that we refinanced the fourplex. So we pulled out, I think, $1 million from that. And
we
then
also
over
had
the
a single
summer,
family home we had converted from a rental and moved into.
Well, that was later.
But there was funds from that. It was a single family home.
So, but no, so we had in 2017, I was talking about, we refinanced the fourplex. I think we pulled out about $1 million from that alone. And so we started shopping for properties then. And you were going to Tucson, we were going to Phoenix, Eugene, Oregon, Klamath Falls, Oregon. We were looking all over the place, and we got into contract on a couple of places that didn't work out. It took us until about the end of the year, and we finally got, I think, 8 units in Oregon, and we were in contract for about 25 more in Reno and closed those.
Wow. And so that's pretty quick. I mean, 6 months is a quick time to get things going. Everyone who's listening, it's not just sitting back, it's being proactive. It's going out, it's doing the research, it's getting on those uncomfortable calls, it's going to the market, it's doing property tours, it's selling your business. There are a lot of things. It's having a family, a lot of things going on. But to me, it sounds like you guys had clarity. You guys knew exactly what you wanted. It might have been uncomfortable, but short-term pain for long-term gain. How did you, that first deal in Nevada, how did you guys find it? And how did you take it down?
I was shaking the trees. I knew it was going to be an off-market property because my experience with the other 2 things we had tried and not made it through with, I was just patient and persistent, and the deals I came into first in Reno were all off-market, as well past 2014 when Tesla was here. So there's a lot of people already speculating here that came out from the Bay Area, this is like the backyard of the Bay Area. So there was investors here that if something shows up on LoopNet or CoStar, it's been seen by a lot of people. So the off-market ones I ran across just through connections I started developing here in the area. And same with Southern Oregon, same thing, because I have family there and existing connections. Yeah.
So right now you have the properties in Oregon, you have the properties in Reno. Are you still focusing in Reno right now? So you moved to the Reno market, correct? And you're managing your properties?
Yeah, well, we've got a management company in place, and we manage the management company, kind of.
So how does that work? Let's walk through that. Are you satisfied with the management company? How did you find them? Are they doing a good job?
Well, we're on our second management company. And yeah, that's a tough part. We're small time. We can't, at first, we couldn't afford a big complex that could support on site. Employees that report to you, it's completely different than somebody that's just a vendor for you, so you've really got to put them through tests and keep on them and watch the work orders that come in and why they're using a plumber instead of a maintenance guy, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're a very involved owner, there's some great property managers out there. So I think we found one, luckily. And we probably are on the phone a lot more with her than her out-of-state big investors, but she's awesome, so it's possible to use property management companies, not just find that big, huge complex with on-site people that you hire yourself.
And so for us, what we do is we have we teach our students, weekly calls. You need to be on with property management company at least weekly, right? That's what you want. You want a weekly report, get KPIs, your key performance indicators, whether they're delinquency reports, vacant unrented, vacant rented. That's all important because it's all about the numbers. So what are you guys going to do now? You're going to continue to buy in Reno? Are you looking outside of other markets? What is the plan?
Yeah, well, I've been talking to Jill a little bit about Reno's starting to feel a little bit like Phoenix became or Portland became, honestly. Believe it or not, it's such a secondary market. I think it's 450,000 MSA. It's a small, but the cap rates are approaching 4.
Yep.
So we're feeling like great, we're making money on the places we got in good, but is it time to pivot a little bit of our assets, either refinancing or relocating to other areas? So we are looking at other areas, and haven't quite focused in on anything yet, but I'm looking.
So what cities attract you right now?
Well, I'm still looking, and I like. My feeling has been for a while that a lot of people are learning that, especially with COVID, that telecommuting is possible. So why are you, how awesome is it to live in San Francisco and all that stuff that's walkable? But when you can, you've got to, because that's where your corporation is or whatever, and it's convenient. But now even the corporations are realizing, I think they can be profitable with offsite people. Like I even heard that Google's not really putting anybody in their facilities till July of next year. So they're obviously making money and having productive people out of home. So where do people move? I think it's a resurrection of small town, honestly. Eventually, at 5 to 10 years, these small towns that have left from timber and farming and all their prosperity to boarded up windows and stuff, I think those are going to be where people move from urban areas. Honestly, that's where I'm looking.
So for
I'm
us,
trying to look. There's not much to be found, but it's
for us, we had investors on the other day on another podcast, and they're talking about Austin. And Austin's another city like you're talking about, where there's a growth growing out. Google's going there. It seems like everyone's relocating to Texas, Florida, and the Southeast. And I know what you said about Phoenix, and it's very deceiving because people, they get discouraged with low cap rates. But everyone listening, low cap rates just mean less risk. That's what it really comes down to, because that's where the jobs are and that's where the population growth is. I will guarantee you someone in Reno, Nevada who lives there is probably more likely to pay their rent than somebody in New York City right now. I'm just saying that's why cap rates are lower in Reno. They're lower in Florida because there's job growth. They're lower in Austin because there's people moving there. So that is really important. Jill, give me an idea. Give me a look into your daily window of what you do during the day as an investor, as a stay-at-home mom, or what does your day look like?
Well, last year looks a little different than this year. Last year was still kind of in the end of our major Reno acquisition value add phase. And we had bought a complex, actually in 2018, we bought it, and it was 8 units here in Reno, but it was a complete gut rehab, just not a nice place, but in a great spot. And so I was there grouting, 5 months pregnant. I'm like just there monitoring the construction guys, making sure that they're getting their work done, driving to the nursery to pick out the plants for the new landscaping, picking out the paint colors. And we furnished a couple units even just to try that. So doing all that. But I'm pretty hands-on. I'll clean a toilet or what I did. I would do anything just to get the stuff done. Doug's running around picking up parts and, coordinating with all the different subs. And yeah, it was a pretty full-on day-to-day job, let alone dealing with kids and our own home and family life. But nowadays I'm more the bookkeeper for everything. So we have, I think, 14 different addresses and therefore bank accounts. And so just keeping up with that stuff. And for the bigger property, we manage that ourselves, or we have a staff for that one. And so I'm the full-on bookkeeper, doing the P&Ls and stuff for that property. And then, working with the managers that we have, just supporting them. Once in a while, we step in and maybe get a better bid, or might, help with the decorations or help with some improvements.
Our weekly calls with our property managers, we like to help, we're kind of a bit of a trouble for them, doing more than they would normally do for a passive investor that's out of state. But they also get a lot of help from us, and our units turn a lot faster than their other units, probably because we get involved. So
and that's the way it should be, though. That's your money, that's your asset. So you should be on top of them. Most people don't understand that. There can be a passive element to it. You're not actually having to go, as Jill says, clean the toilets, right? You can direct somebody to do that, but it still has you still have to direct somebody to do that work. And that's where I think a lot of investors fail. If you're not doing that, then your partner has to do that, or somebody has to end up doing that. Guys, how do you feel now as far as life goes? As opposed to a couple of years ago? I mean, what is the feeling? What's changed in your life over the last 3 years since you've gotten into real estate full time? I want both of you to answer that question.
Oh, put us on this. Well, for me, life's a lot more enjoyable doing, this is fun to me. It's definitely a different type of people you work with. You've got amazing realtors to some that are entry level that just don't belong. You've got contractors that are tough and some that are amazing people, whereas, I left an environment with, I think most of the people I was hiring or worked with were PhDs. So, way above and beyond me in most cases. So, but, you're restrained to the corporate life and 9 to 5, and I make my own schedule now. Jill thinks I probably work through the weekends too much, but at least I'm out doing what I want, and I can get my family involved and bring them along, So we're enjoying it. It's great.
I love it. And for you, Jill?
For me, I still haven't quite got to the point where I'm caught up with everything that I left behind the last couple of years, because we also had a baby last year. So, it's still been pretty chaotic, but the amazing thing is that I'm not commuting an hour and a half a day to UCLA. And we have freedom. We were going to go to Europe for 3 months and then couldn't medically travel. That was a problem, but not many people can do that. And definitely if we were both still in the corporate world, or even had our small business, we would not have been able to do any of that. And so still making the plans, still might get out and travel.
We can work from anywhere for what we do. We have enough contacts or managers in the companies on the phone a lot with them. You can manage things, and so it gives you freedom.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, everybody,
sorry.
Write this down, everyone. What I'm hearing is time freedom. It's also the ability to do what you like. And I have a news flash for Jill. Your life is going to be chaotic forever. And if your life isn't chaotic, then it means it's not worth living. It means you're bored, okay? I have 6 kids. There's never a dull day. I'm waiting for one of my children to come up the steps right now and say something to me. So it's always chaotic. And that's the way life should be. Unless you're 70 years old and you're in a nursing home, then maybe it's not as chaotic, but we don't want to be there. I want everyone to be a 70-year-old active adult investing and dealing in multifamily and chasing around contractors, because that's actually pretty much fun. Because if you're not doing that, if you're not living an active, engaging life, then why are you living? there's nothing more fun for me than growing a business, growing your wealth, and like Doug said, bringing your kids to the job. I bring our kids to all of our boot camps. I actually want my son, he's interning with us. I want him to intern on the properties next year. So there's so many benefits to investing in multifamily. So before we go to the short answers, what is your next step or your next goal in multifamily?
So here's where Jill and I are a lot different in some ways. I'm always moving and aspiring, and I don't really even set goals, and I'm not I'm always looking for the next thing. Like we are looking for a shift of equity out of Reno, and also taking some equity out of Southern Oregon in the next spot. For Jill, it would be nice maybe to be more comfortable, spend more time with the family and stuff. And so I'm trying to find a balance with that. So my next step, we are looking for, I do want to get a couple more larger properties. And I would love to keep everything we have, but we might have to shift some assets a bit.
That's great. And you, Jill?
Ooh, I see Doug's point, and I think that we do still have a lot of levers we can pull in terms of pulling some equity out and growing. And I think, you know, he's right. Like if you're not growing, you're dying pretty much in any business. And so we need to keep looking and keep pounding the pavement. But do I want to do another full gut rehab? Not necessarily, at least not as hands-on as what we did. I mean, it turned out amazing, and the results were there. But yeah, I think we're still a little bit, and definitely last year we were in that I'm a phase that you used to talk about a lot. I don't know.
We still talk about it. I'm gonna do this.
Like, I'm gonna do that.
Yep.
I'm gonna scrub that toilet, or I'm gonna go show that. I'm gonna do that open house.
I go by every one of my properties once a week. You know, I don't think a lot of people realize you need to go out there and touch, feel, talk to people.
I want to ask this question. This would probably be my wife would love to answer this question because it's important. I lied to you, Josh. No, we're not stopping yet because this is important. How do the both of you work together? I mean, as a couple, to complement each other, because, you know, spousal communication, working, sometimes the business overtakes family life, and it seems like there's no disconnect. And you know, we have that here with my wife because I'll do the podcast with her. She helps me out with a lot of stuff with Jake and Gino. My kids, we discuss it all the time. How do you guys work together?
Jill's a perfect partner because she thinks so differently than me. I mean, I can get in my tunnel vision and going my path, and if I slow down enough to listen to her, I'm like, oh wow, I never thought of it that way. What a great synergy. You know, it helps me a lot. You know, I know I frustrate her because my decisions are sometimes on the risky edge in her mind at the moment. Sometimes 1 out of 10 don't work out, but I'm like, those 9 worked out. So come on, Jill.
Those are good odds. If you get 6 out of 10, you're winning. 9 out of 10 is not bad.
Okay, maybe more like 5 or 6 out of 10.
I love that. And for you, Jill, how does it work for you? How do you make it work?
Yeah, I mean, I think Doug's kind of when he goes off and gets these ideas, or, you know, decides to sell a fourplex, for example, it means a lot of work for me in like scrambling to find the deals, though he does all the acquisitions, but I'm the one stressed about it. And then, you know, I have to put together the finance packages. I do all of that kind of background work. I mean, I guess like every time we change something, it means like a ton of work for me. And I feel like, I mean, I think it's just a matter of getting past the I'm a phase and relying more on the people that we have to take on some of this. And so we're it's been busy. It's been a whirlwind. And so I'm I'm super happy we're here. It's awesome. Like it's great.
And we're early into it. It's been just 2.5 years.
The dust is still settling.
Up to 14 properties that quick. So it takes time to develop contacts and you know, appreciate your good subs and recognize the bad ones. And you start getting a team together as you develop into an area where you're focused, and you can offload.
I think it's important, everybody. In the show notes, I'm going to leave an article that I just wrote. It's called The 7 Levels of Creating a Successful Multifamily Business. And it goes from the first one to actually just the epiphany of wanting to do it. Back in 2017, you had that epiphany, all the way through to action, education, buying your first deal, then buying a couple more deals. And then all of a sudden, you're at that point right now where scalability, where it's people, systems, and culture. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to leave the element mentality. I'm bootstrapping it. And it's a scary phase because you're hiring people full time. You've never done it before. And it's a scaling up phase, and you can stay there. And there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're trying to grow, you guys will definitely figure out how to go into that next phase of actually scalability. And Doug, you'll see in the next year to 18 months, you're going to be telling Jill, there are so many other businesses in multifamily. I just see them so many. And she's going to be like, Doug, you're killing me, Doug. Why are you letting me do this? I don't want to start a podcast. I don't want to do education. I don't want to do a syndication company. But you're going to be like, yes, let's do it. And then you're going to realize how to figure that out. And then you're going to continue to grow. So it's a really beautiful evolution. And it hasn't taken that long. 14 properties. I mean, most people don't do that in their entire lives. And you guys have done that in 2.5, 3 years. It's really a testament to hard work, testament to clarity, a testament to working together. There's so much there. So awesome. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors, and Josh is going to take us home, bro.
Are you looking for ways to improve your life?
Here at Jake and Gino, our mission is to empower students through financial education and the vehicle of multifamily investing.
Yes, Jake. We agree that a person with financial intelligence can change the world for the better.
We've created our proprietary 3-step framework, buy right, manage right, and finance right, that we teach to our community. This framework, along with education, our one-on-one mentorship, on-site boot camps, and the amazing community has propelled our students to massive success.
We've all been there. We've had so many students that have been able to shift their mindset, overcome limiting beliefs, and set a clear path to achieve their goals. Whether you're currently fixing and flipping, wholesaling, or buying single-family rentals, and you know that multifamily investing is the right vehicle for you, I encourage you to visit jakeandgino.com/apply to schedule your complimentary consultation with our team. And I want to let you know this isn't a high-pressure sales call. It's really just a discovery call to get to know each other better and see if we're a good fit for working together. And if for any reason we're not a good fit, our team has tons of resources we will share with you to help you along your journey.
If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels, go to jakeandgino.com/apply and schedule your call now.
All right, Doug and Jill, I got some short answer questions for you here. So what's your favorite book and why?
Oh my gosh.
Me, I read nonfiction, so it'd be boring to tell you. I read things like Malcolm Gladwell or McPhee,
Yes.
That's my thing. Every once in a while I'll get a novel and get into it, but I'm into more nonfiction stuff.
All right, Jill, and for you?
And are we talking about books for
All over.
anything.
Favorite book altogether. And yeah.
any? Oh, well, this is totally off topic, but I love the book Lonesome Dove. And I'm an aspiring novelist. Or
She got me to read it. It's
novelist by
awesome.
hobby.
Josh,
It's
get
an
it on
awesome.
Audible, Josh. Get that book on Audible, okay?
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
a fun one.
All right, what about best habit for success? And Doug, we'll start with you.
I think it's not to have a habit. I think a lot of people that come to me and want to get involved in real estate and stuff, sometimes they want to be where you're at right away. Or they have excuses. Oh my God, rentals, what a pain. You got to deal with tenants. Just don't give yourself excuses, give yourself solutions. I don't know, something like that.
I love
that. Yeah, Jill, how about you?
I think, of course, it's going to be hard work. And, a lot of people will look at us and maybe say, well, you were lucky you had coastal real estate in California. And I mean, there is an element of
You make your own luck.
Yeah, I think that's the key is that, it took Doug a lot of initiative and hard work and sacrifice to get to the fourplex or to get to the home. We actually, we sold our home there last year in order to buy a 117 unit property in Oregon. So it takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice, in other words, to make your own luck. So.
Yeah, we could have rented a place on the beach like some of our friends insisted on disposing their income.
Yes.
But we lived inland, and I'm always fine with that. If I can see the future for my kids being better, if I just moving inland and living not in not such a big place for a while, it's totally fine with me.
So the
yeah,
quote,
and now we can go back.
It's not even a sacrifice to me.
So Josh, I think the quote is, do what others don't, have what others won't. Really, that's basically what it comes down to. And most people want that short-term gratification, but I'll guarantee you continue to do what you're doing in the next 5 years, you'll be able to buy that oceanfront property because it becomes a snowball effect. It's hard to explain, but you continue to, well, you're not saying habits, but the habits that you're creating, right? Continuing to buy properties, continuing to live, I don't want to say frugally, but continuing to reinvest and continuing to look forward and continuing to plan for your children's future. The harder you work, the luckier you get. People don't get that. You don't get just lucky. You get lucky when you work hard and when you put stuff out. And that's what people just do not understand. Nothing is given to anybody, especially in the United States of America. We need to work hard in this country. And if we work hard and we work smart, then things will start adding up. And the harder we work, the luckier we get.
Look, I got a quote that sums it up perfectly. So it's wealthy people use their money to get richer. Poor people use most of their money to look richer. So very key distinction there, right? Buy the beach house or buying an asset.
Poor dad thing. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, there's been some really good nuggets in this episode. I got 2 points that really hit hard with me, and I know Gino's going to add a ton to them. So one, Doug, I mean, it was awesome when you're like, hey, with real estate, you can get your family involved. You can't pass down your job, but you can pass down your assets, right? So we're building something that's long-term, and that really stood out to me. And another one, Jill, I mean, you had mentioned a catalyst when this was starting to booking a call, right? You made a commitment to reach out to someone who's doing what you wanted to do. And guys, look, I want to make you guys an offer that are listening here. If you shoot me an email, josh@jakeandgino.com, I'll send you over a Calendly link to book a call with our team. And again, that catalyst was the snowball that created to, where they're at now, 181 units. Gino, what else you got to add to this?
So Josh, it's 2017. Jill and Doug have a business. They're grinding. They think it's the American dream to have the business, right? They were where I was with the restaurant. Jill picks up the call. She listens to a couple of Jake and Gino podcasts. She schedules the call, and we proceed to, just get on the few phone calls. I feel her pain because it's so noticeable. It's so like friendly to me. I just understand that pain because I've been through that pain, and there's nothing wrong with the pain. It actually makes you go. It's either you're moving away from pain or moving towards pleasure. And at that point in their lives, they're moving away from pain. They create a plan. They have total clarity, but at the same time, they do what most other people don't do, Josh, is they actually get educated. They take massive action. And they do what 95% of other people don't do. They delay their gratification and they invest in their business. Then the next step is they start buying assets out of state and they start moving out of state and they sell their home. I mean, imagine selling your home. That's soul crushing to some people, but they know that for the long term, that's the important thing that they need to do. And they know 3 years down the road, they can buy 2 of those homes. So they're planning for the future. And what I like about it is they have a real complementary, relationship where one seems like the visionary and the other one seems like the integrator. So I don't know. I don't want to say which one is which, but we both know that they work really well together. One, you're pulling them back, and the other one, if you let him go, he's off to the races, right? You need that balance, and it's important. But to continue to invest in yourself and to continue to get better is what it's all about in life. And ultimately now, from what I hear and what I see, they're moving towards pleasure, which is what we ultimately want to do. We got to go through the pain sometimes to go through the pleasure. And that's what I love about the story here. And I think that, 180 units, it doesn't matter about how many units you get, because you're going to figure out ultimately that you're going to learn how to scale this business and get bigger. And you're going to learn how to repurpose your capital and all that. And starting out with those assets didn't make them successful because they had those before they got clarity. It's not how much money you make. Josh, the quote of some people are so poor, all they have is money. That's really important. It's not about just having money, Josh. It's about having the financial intelligence to know what to do with that money. So that's what I think Doug and Jill are exemplifying right now, and moving towards the future is great. And I'm just glad that they're part of the Jake and Gino community, and they're real great role models out there.
Yeah. With that, Doug and Jill, how can the listeners get a hold of you?
I think definitely through Jill. Get them your email address. She's the
our email, reddellproperties@gmail is fine.
REDDELL@gmail.
Reddell Properties with an IES on the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I can spell it out. REDDELL Properties with an IES @gmail. Feel free to reach out, anybody.
Definitely. We'll leave that in the show notes also. Do not hesitate. Find out what they did, because it's an amazing story, like I said, and just a couple of things just to improve their lives. They really didn't change a lot. All they needed is a couple of tweaks to improve their lives, and they're off to the races.
Well, guys, listen, I want to thank Doug and Jill for being amazing guests on the show and sharing their movers and shakers story. Now, if you want to be the next movers and shakers guest, email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. And listen, if you like this show, please leave us a review. And until next time, let's make it a movers and shakers week. See you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.